Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Shesha Sunnavadi Paschata Deshatarine Vanchakalpataruvesya kripa sindhubhayemacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namo. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Binda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Binda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Jashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Jashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Gurudev, Gurudev, Gurudev Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Hare Krishna, Prabhus and mothers, thank you for coming.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. You all are like, you all are again and again. Hope you get the boost, not frustrated. Oh, so many classes. Well, Wednesday we have few other, and we have 2 more classes today. It's wonderful.
That's mine.
Yeah. So today we are going to serve. Wednesday always we serve Bhagavad Gita. 7th chapter. We finished last week 21. So we are going to do 22. But just to refresh, what is 7th chapter means? 7th chapter means it gives 3 important elements that we can focus in this chapter. One is knowledge about Supreme. Who is Supreme God? That is given in this chapter very elaborately. And what do you have to do to understand the, in other words, you can say, how do you ascertain the Supreme Absolute Truth? Second, the process of attaining the knowledge. And third is, what will be the result or end result of such attainment? And we are on 22, means we are in the middle of many gods, polytheistic idea, polytheism. I'm sure you all are familiar in the Abraham culture or Christian, Judeo-Christian culture. They believe one God by destroying all God. And that's what Abraham did, Muhammad did. In Mecca, there used to be many gods worshipper. And he thought to establish Allah, he has to destroy all other gods. Well, our conception is more harmonized, is not harming. So this is very nice, the way Krishna explained. In the Judeo-Christian also, the God's idea is that if you worship another God, the God becomes, your God becomes envious. I asked actually some doctor who got 3 PhD on Moses 5 chapter called Torah. And he says, no, the word is there. It's envy. He will get angry and envy if you go to any other religion or other God. But in this chapter, Prabhus and mothers, you look, Krishna reveals what is the secret of Godhood, how to ascertain the supremacy of, or is there many gods? It's very wonderful, harmonized. So let us begin by chanting. And if anyone would voluntarily recite the verses and read the translation, will be appreciated. So we are beginning chapter 7, text 22. Before that, we evoke the mercy of Lord Vasudev. to purify our consciousness. So please join together. Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritam Naranchaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiraye. Nasta Prayesu Abhadresu Nittam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistaki Mukham Karati Vachalam Pangulangayate Girim Jatkripa Tamaham Bande Sri Guru Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Isharam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Simate Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunnavadi Paschata Deshatarine Vancha Kalpataru Vesha Kripa Sindhu Bhaivacha Patitanam Pavanebho Vaishnavebho Namo Namo Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Binda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Prabhuji, what's the, could you please repeat the text number?
Chapter 7,
and
text 22.
Thank you.
Would you like to read? Or
Yes,
anyone? Okay.
I'll try. Hare Krishna, everyone. Chapter 7, text 22. Sathaya Shraddhaya Yuktas. Sathaya Shraddha Yuktas. Shraddhaya Yuktas. Tasyaradhanam ihate. Tasyaradhanam ihate. Labate cha tatham kaman mayeva hitan vihitan hitan mayeva vihitan hitan. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Prabhupada ki jai. Endowed with such a faith, he endeavors to worship a particular demigod and obtains his desires. But in the actuality, these benefits are bestowed by me alone. Prabhu, should I continue the purport?
Yes, purport.
Okay, purport. The demigods cannot award benedictions to their devotees without the permission of the Supreme Lord. The living entity may forget that everything is the property of the Supreme Lord, but the demigods do not forget. So the worship of demigods and achievement of desired results are due not to the demigods, but the Supreme Personality of Godhead by arrangement. The less intelligent living entity does not know this, and therefore he foolishly goes to the demigods for some benefit. But the pure devotee, when in need of something, prays only to the Supreme Lord. Asking for material benefit, however, is not a sign of a pure devotee. A living entity goes to the demigods usually because he is mad to fulfill his lust. He's mad to fulfill his lust. This happens when something undue is desired by the living entity and the Lord himself does not fulfill the desire. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that one who worships the Supreme Lord and at the same time desires material enjoyment is contradictory in his desires. Devotional service to the Supreme Lord and the worship of the demigod cannot be on the same platform because worship of demigods is material and devotional service to the Supreme Lord is completely spiritual. For the living entity who desires to return to Godhead, material desires are impediments. A pure devotee of the Lord is awarded therefore not awarded the material benefits desired by less intelligent living entities, who therefore prefer to worship demigods of the material world rather than engage in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord. Hare Krishna Prabhu. Back to you.
Very good. So if we recall the previous sloka, Krishna said, I am in everyone's heart as a super soul. The word super soul means one who has an upper hand, controlling, or you are part of it. So then Krishna says, as soon as one desire to worship anybody, whether Jesus or Allah or a Ganesh or Shiva or a ghost. In Africa, they do a lot of ghost worshipping. Also in India, also here. What is that place called? Dominican Republic. A lot of voodoo worshipper. In Miami also, I heard some amongst the Latinos. So Krishna says that as soon one desire to worship some god, I make his faith steady so that he can devote himself to that particular deity. Now, if you really think very deeply, are they worshipping on their own? No. Can the demigod claim that he has a power to accept the offerings from the worshipper? No. But he's taking, yes, by Krishna's grace. So, if you look at this word-to-word meaning, here it says, Sataya Sadhaya Juktas, equipped with this faith. Sadhaya Jukta. Tasya Aradhanam Ihate, that person, Aradhana, is same as Architam. Aradhanam, Architam is just similar synonyms, you can say. That person worship Ihate, aspires or endeavor. So equipped with faith, the person worship and then person gets the result. Then Krishna says, Labhate cha tato kaman. The person gets the desire. Labhate means he achieves, he receives. Tato kaman, desire. Kaman word used here, 720, kamaste ritagyana. Because kama, one is doing this, here labhate kaman, one gets the kama. And Sri Krishna is telling, Maeva bhita hitan. It is actually by my mercy he is getting it. This is a very secret. Okay. So here Krishna says, actually Krishna is telling here that it is I who is giver of the result. So demigod does not have independent power to give any result. Whether it's Ganesh, Shiva, or whoever, demigods' power are there, but their power ultimately comes from Krishna, from the Supreme Lord alone. Not like Supreme Lord give permission, demigod has their power, Supreme Lord gives some power. No. It is Krishna has exclusive right. And that is why if there is a confrontation between demigods and Supreme Lord, then demigods always pays and fails. We saw in Govardhan Puja. Indra did the same thing. We see always in the another, there is a great devotee who was visiting, Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj gives the story. I forgot the place in South India, very interesting place. And they still have the deity. The Lord Shiva or Vishakshana, that's right. So Vishakshana, he said he was sick. He's the leader of the village. And he told the Shiva followers that, hey, Hare Krishna Prabhu, you do the worship to Shiva. I'm sick. I cannot do the worship. So he said, okay, I'll help you. So of course, under Guru's guidance, he always offer Krishna first. And then prasadam he gives to Shiva. This is the proper. Nobody should offer to Shiva directly or any demigod. We should offer always to Krishna and give the demigod Krishna prasad, and then you can take their prasad. So Vishakshana Prabhu, he was offering to Nishingadev because that was Nishingadev Chaturdashi day. And first he was offering to Nishingadev, and the Shiva Bhakta took the sword out. He said, I understand what you are chanting. You are offering to your God. You are not offering to my God. Therefore, I sever your head. Of course, I'm saying in a gentle way, but he was very angry. And the moment he really took the sword out to sever the head of this Vaishnava, Lord Shiva Linga broke completely with a loud noise. And Nishingadev came out from Shiva Linga. And instantly killed that Vishakshana. That Shiva. And Lord established his supremacy, and the whole villager surrendered to Vishakshana. And till today, that village is there on the way to Andhra. Very beautiful, Lord Nishingadev's temple. So overall, point from this section is power of demigod are coming from Sri Krishna. This should be understood. Now, we are not going to start challenging everybody, especially the Hindus or anybody who is worshipping any god beside Krishna or beside Vishnu Tattva. Mahiva, here it says, Mai Iva Bihitan Hitan. So whatever blessing anybody gives, any god gives, any living entity, any blessing, it's coming from Krishna. This is Krishna is claiming here. And Srila Prabhupada's purport, we just read, for the living entity who desire to return to Godhead, material desire are impediments. So a devotee are not caught in such desire, and the devotee focuses on glorifying Krishna and returning back to Sri Krishna. Okay. Text 23. Anybody would like to go further? Anybody has the Bhagavad Gita in front?
Yes, Prabhu, I can read.
Okay, Somen Prabhu, please go for it.
Okay, Prabhu. So, chapter 7, text 23. Antavat tu phalam tasam tat bhavati alpa medhasam devan deva yajayanti madbhakta yanti mam api. Translation by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Men of small intelligence worship the demigods, and their fruits are limited and temporary. Those who worship the demigods go to the planets of the demigods, but my devotees ultimately reach my supreme planet. Purport. Some commentators on the Gita say that one who worships a demigod can reach the Supreme Lord, but here it is clearly stated that the worshippers of demigods go to the different planetary systems where various demigods are situated. Just as a worshipper of the sun achieves the sun, or a worshipper of the demigod of the moon achieves the moon. Similarly, if anyone wants to worship a demigod like Indra, he can attain that particular God's planet. It is not that everyone, regardless of whatever demigod is worshipped, will reach the supreme personality of Godhead. That is denied here. For it is clearly stated that the worshippers of demigods go to different planets in the material world, but the devotee of the Supreme Lord goes directly to the supreme planet of the personality of Godhead. Here the point may be raised that if the demigods are different parts of the body of the Supreme Lord, then the same end should be achieved by worshipping them. However, worshippers of the demigods are less intelligent because they don't know to what part of the body food must be supplied. Some of them are so foolish that they claim that there are many parts and many ways to supply food. This isn't very sanguine. Can anyone supply food to the body through the ears or eyes? They do not know that these demigods are different parts of the universal body of the Supreme Lord, and in their ignorance, they believe that each and every demigod is a separate god and a competitor of the Supreme Lord. Not only are demigods parts of the Supreme Lord, but ordinary living entities are also. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that the Brahmanas are the head of the Supreme Lord, and the Kshatriyas are the arms extra, and that all serve different functions. Regardless of the situation, if one knows that both the demigods and himself are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, his knowledge is perfect. But if he does not understand this, he achieves different planets where the demigods reside. This is not the same destination the devotee reaches. The results achieved by the demigods' benedictions are perishable because within this material world, the planets, the demigods, and their worshippers are all perishable. Therefore, it is clearly stated in this verse that all results achieved by worshipping demigods are perishable, and therefore such worship is performed by the less intelligent living entity, because the pure devotee engaged in Krishna consciousness in devotional service of the Supreme Lord achieves eternal blissful existence that is full of knowledge. His achievement and those of the common worshipper of the demigods are different. The Supreme Lord is unlimited, his favor is unlimited. His mercy is unlimited, and therefore the mercy of the Supreme Lord upon his pure devotees is unlimited. Prabhu, back to you, Prabhu. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. So very few key 10 points. One was the second paragraph that Prabhupada you just read. Prabhupada put it. The demigod worshipper, they will have a disappointment end of their life. Why? Because the place, when you worship a demigod or any god, you become attached to that form, that person. Whether it's Jesus or whether it's whoever it is, you become attached to that person and you want to be in the place where that personality resides. and your relationship with that person also become strong. So, end of the Brahma's life, what happened to Ganesh ji or anybody, any god? They become like a back to normal living being. Your relationship is destroyed because the whole universe will be finished. And the form of the demigods, that's also lost. Those are not permanent. So you are back to zero. Is that a good proposition? No. On the other side, Krishna is saying, he is eternal, our relationship is eternal, and his abode is eternal. Never have to disappoint. So let's see word to word meaning. It's very nice. Antabattu phalam tesham. They follow means result that one gets by the worship of the demigods are antabat. Antabat means it has an end, temporary. Tad bhavati alpa medosam. Medha in Sanskrit means intelligent. So alpa medosha, alpa means little. So they have a very little intelligence, not much intelligence. That's why they worship demigods. Of course, Prabhus and mothers, when you see them, don't start judging them. That will be like, they will not feel good about it. But we have to uplift their consciousness and bring to Krishna consciousness. So who aspire for this actually? Alpa medosha. How do you know who has less intelligence? See what they worship. If they don't worship anybody, they are abuddhaya. They don't have intelligence. We're not talking about material intelligence, material PhD or MD or FRCS. We are not talking about dealing with the matter. We're talking about the conscious intelligence. One who has a spiritual intelligence, most intelligent, they are worshipper of Krishna, Vishnu. Less intelligent, demigod worshipper. No intelligent, atheist, impersonalist. Spiritually, they are really way down. Devana Deva Jaja Janti. Those who worship Devata goes to Devata. Very clear. Mad Bhakta Janti Mamopi. Those who worship me, Krishna says, come back to me. So in this way, he is explaining in different kinds of worship, different level of worship. Now, in one sense, you can say the demigod worshipper are better than impersonalist because they have some intelligence. Also, there is some common thread. First of all, to be Krishna conscious or to go back to spiritual world, we have to surrender. Impersonalist, no intelligence means they don't surrender to anybody. They only surrender to themselves. Whatever they want to do, they do in spiritual practice. So sometime in amongst our association event, sometimes the idea is that I'll do what I want to do. I don't want to do under somebody. But we always make it very clear, no, we are following Prabhupada, we are following our teachers. We're not on our own. It's very scary to be on your own in spiritual progress. But those impersonalists, even amongst us sometimes we think like this, means contamination of impersonalism is there. So Krishna says, no surrender are impersonalists. Those who surrender, but don't want to surrender to Krishna, they are demigod worship. And those who surrender to Krishna, they are devotees. So you can categorize like that. So demigod worshipper, when they are elevated, what is the ultimate fruit they can get? The ultimate fruit they can get by the mercy of Supreme God is somehow they get elevated to demigod worship, to the worship of Supreme Lord. Now that is the ultimate blessing that they can get. Instead of shakam or full of desire, they become nishkam. Nishkam means no material desire. Otherwise, at the material level, the benefit that they get is that they may move from materialist consciousness to pious materialism. They may go to the demigod abode. They lived with the demigod, but that also not permanent. Two verses repeating the same almost. The demigod abode themselves are temporary. So even if they attain those abodes, they live there temporarily. And quite often, they will not attain those abodes because today, especially when people perform demigod worship, they don't even do with proper scriptural rules and regulation, to be honestly. So tam niyama astayami. There has to be niyama. One has to be astaya. One has to follow those niyamas. Niyamas means rules, faithfully. So every demigod worship has to be done with rule and regulations. Now, the rules and regulations are for demigod worship. Worship may be different from worship of Supreme Lord or even among demigods, but there are rules nonetheless. Only when one follows the rules, then one gets the elevation or elevated. So today we have demigod worship in India, for example. We may have a worship of Ganeshji. In such worship, you'll see people are playing movie song. I saw that. In Kali Puja, in Durga Puja or Kali Puja in Calcutta. Oh, it's all like a Hindi movie song. Related, maybe the Kali word is there or Durga word is there or something. But it's all movie songs. In the big pandal they make, many people does not find it objectionable. It's such a thing because their whole idea is that this kind of religious practice is one kind of entertainment. And I'm sure you'll agree with that. People are coming to Ganeshji for entertainment and hearing movie song. Also for entertainment only. So what is the problem in bringing two forms of entertainment together? Actually, it is a complete misunderstanding. Demigod worship should also be done. Some noise. Okay. Demigod worship also should be done for the glorification of demigod. Ultimately, one should worship the Supreme Lord. But if you are a worshipping demigods, then you should glorify that demigod in the worship. The best way to glorify the demigod is to glorify the demigod as a devotee of the Supreme Lord. This is our proposition. This is what Krishna is stating. I saw in Shivastakam, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wrote, this is in Murari Gupta Karcha. I have it somewhere in the computer, I have to find, where Lord Shiva is glorified as a great devotee of Supreme Lord. But if one does not do that kind of glorification, at least he should worship demigod and glorify the demigod as for the power of the demigod. But to be honestly, Prabhus and mothers, today even that is not done. The demigod image might be there. I saw that Durga Puja time. Yes, they spend money to make the straw with the mud and then they paint the body with the Ganesh, Kartik, Saraswati, Lakshmi, and then lion, or sometimes Mahishasur, killing Mahishasur. So demigod image might be there, but actually one may be singing movie song, as I mentioned. So Lord Krishna is saying, if someone worship him for material motive, from there to full surrender takes many lifetime. So from worship of demigod for material motives to surrender to Krishna will take much longer time. So we should encourage. This is, as a devotee, when we get forum, we should not hurt people's feeling when they do demigod worship. I'm requesting all of you, but we can guide them. People are uninformed. Because they are uninformed, they don't know something wrong over here. So we can gently but gravely explain. If they wanted to worship demigod, the best way is to glorify them as servant of Krishna. That is what Krishna is telling over here. It is not that all of these lead to same result. If someone is worshipping demigod, it is not that by worshiping demigod, people will go back to Krishna. No. It is very clearly Krishna is saying in these two verses we just read. Devana Deva Jajo Janti. Those who worshipping demigod will go to demigod. Then Krishna says, Mad Bhakta Janti Mamapi. Those who worship me will come back to me. Because attaining me is eternal attainment. Attaining demigods are temporary attainment. Therefore, these two, worshipping Krishna or worshipping other god, cannot be equated. Therefore, Krishna is saying, Alpamedasa. Those who worship demigods, they are less intelligent. They could be PhD or doctor or whatever, materially, but that doesn't mean they are intelligent. These are spiritual fine intelligence. When we are talking, this is called level of consciousness, elevation of consciousness. So this Alpamedasa can be constructed by previous sloka we read, Bahunam Janmanamante Gyanavan Mam Prapadante, 719. That's right. So those who are Gyanavan, they surrender to me, Krishna says. Sri Krishna says, 720, Kamesteste Ritagyana. Knowledge is stolen away by material desire. So someone can say, okay, knowledge is stolen away, but at least start worshipping the demigod. They did not get into sinful activity to fulfill of material desire. Somebody may say like that. Yes, that is good. They have some intelligence, but their intelligence, medasa, alpa, little. It is not a great, because they are not aspiring for eternal. They are aspiring for temporary result. They may be aware, maybe not aware. That's why this verse, Devano Deva Jajo Janti. So those who worship demigod to the demigod, that is why it is less intelligent. For a human being who is capable of attaining eternal result, seeking something temporary is settling for less when one can get so much greater, but one chooses to settle for something small. Say if someone is a student of IIT, because a lot of, even in the Zoom, some of IIT. If someone is a student of IIT, while in IIT, one does not think about how can I have a bright career, but think about where I can get best food to eat. The hostel mess is terrible. Whole day the person spent time in searching for good food. Well, if the goal is to eat good food, one does not have to be in IIT. One can find food, good food anywhere else to eat. So we all need to eat. Eating is important, but eating is not all important. So eating is one part of life, but eating is not everything in life. Again, the purpose of the IIT, as I mentioned, is to study and get good career. Similarly, our life has a material side And material sides important is not to be rejected entirely. Like this morning I mentioned that Srila Prabhupada in the beginning, he made 4 rules, and first rule was take care of your health. Because if you don't have a good health, you cannot do sadhan bhakti properly. You cannot do anything if you don't have a good health, if you are always sick. So first rule in Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada writes, by handwritten. I still have that copy of that. Mother Govinda Dashi has the original one. That, yes, similarly, important is not to be rejected entirely or neglected, but we have to understand also that material side of life is not all important. Even animals are taking care of material side. So we have to raise to higher level of understanding. We have to raise to level of understanding that there is a spiritual side of our life. And that should be our primary focus. So when we understand that and focus on that, then we get eternal result. As long as we focus on material side, we get only temporary result. And that is why Krishna mentioned this alpamedasa, less intelligent. Now somebody send a little text here. Was Arjuna less intelligent in worshipping the demigod? In Bhagavad Gita, 7th chapter, Krishna states, man, 723, sometime read to imply that the worshipper of the demigods, cosmic administrators, are less intelligent. Yes, such a reading might make Arjuna seem less intelligent. He appeased the demigods such as Indra to get celestial weapons. You all know the story of Mahabharata. Puzzlingly, Krishna himself encouraged Arjuna to worship a demigoddess, female cosmic and administrator. Right after speaking the Gita, just before the Kurukshetra war, Krishna and Arjuna spotted the goddess Bhadrakali in the sky overhead. It's in Mahabharata, I read. At Krishna's direction, Arjuna worshipped her and sought her blessing for victory in the war, because destruction was partly under her jurisdiction. Srishti Sthiti Pralaya Sadhana Shakti Reka Chaiva Jasya Bhuvanani Divorti Durga. The verse says, Brahmaji revealed that she is the goddess of annihilation, destruction. So why did Krishna ask Arjuna to do something if he had deemed it less intelligent? I mean, that question is very good question. To understand, let's consider what exactly Krishna considered less intelligent. The craving for the temporary result of the worship of the demigod, antabattu phalam temsham. So that's one point. Second point, the worshipper failure to see the demigod's power to bless comes from Krishna. Not that demigod has a power to give anybody without sanctioning by Krishna. Third point is the worshipper overpowering worldly desires that steals away their knowledge. So what is the knowledge that worldly desires steal away? You may think. And you focus on this, the knowledge of Krishna's supreme position. Anybody don't know Krishna's supreme position, their intelligence is lost or partially lost. Now you may say, Prabhu, I know Krishna. I am hearing about Krishna. I know Krishna's many words, matta parataranannat, nobody is equal or above me. Now when you think like this, or Vasudeva Sarvamiti, then you are not less intelligent. You are enriched with intelligence, with knowledge. Arjuna never deviated from his relationship with Krishna. Wanting to serve Krishna resourcefully, he sought the resource of celestial weapons that were under the demigod's custody. Knowing that Arjuna would not get deviated, Krishna urged Arjuna to worship Bhadrakali, and thus providing an example of religious piety for those people who are not yet ready. And because of Arjuna's, I would say, fixity of purpose, he was enriched with knowledge, Gyanavan, not deficient in knowledge, not Alpa Medasa. Rather, you can say Bahu Medasa or Gyanavan. Krishna's less intelligence describes, refer to the craving for temporary things. We should remember that. The failure to see Krishna as the ultimate source of all blessings. That is another point. And third point I mentioned, the deviation of devotion from Krishna to something else. Okay. We have a little more time we can discuss, or we can go to one more verses. Anybody would like to read one more verse, 24? We have 11 minutes. We could still go one more. Anyone would like to read one more verse? 7th chapter, text 24 now. This is about Abhyaktam Bhaktima Apanna, about impersonalist.
Yeah, Prabhuji, may I?
Sure, Mother Arun.
Hari Bol. Avyaktam Vyaktim Apanam Manyante Mam Abudhayaha Param Bhavam Ajananto Mama Vyayam Anuttamam. Unintelligent men who do not know me perfectly think that I, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, was impersonal before and have now assumed this personality. Due to their small knowledge, they do not know my higher nature, which is imperishable and supreme. The purport. Those who are worshippers of demigods have been described as less intelligent persons, and here the impersonalists are similarly described. Lord Krishna in his personal form is here speaking before Arjun. And still, due to ignorance, impersonalists argue that the Supreme Lord ultimately has no form. Yamunacharya, a great devotee of the Lord in the disciplic succession of Ramanujacharya, has written a very appropriate verse in this connection. He says, Tvam Shila Rupa Charita hai Param Prakrishta hai Satvena Satvikataya Prabalaischa Shastraya Prakhyat Daiva Paramartha Vidam Mataischa Naiva Sura Prakritaya Prabhavanti Bodham. My dear Lord, devotees like Vyasdev and Narad know you to be the personality of Godhead. By understanding different Vedic literatures, one can come to know your characteristics, your form, and your activities, and one can thus understand that you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But those who are in the modes of passion and ignorance, the demons, the non-devotees, cannot understand you. They are unable to understand you. However, such non-devotees may be in discussing Vedant and the Upanishads and other Vedic literatures, it is not possible for them to understand the personality of Godhead. Stotra Ratna 12. In the Brahma Samhita, it is stated that the personality of Godhead cannot be understood simply by study of the Vedanta literature. Only by the mercy of the Supreme Lord can the personality of the Supreme be known. Therefore, in this verse, it is clearly stated that not only are the worshippers of the demigods less intelligent, but those non-devotees who are engaged in Vedanta and speculation on Vedic literature without any tinge of true Krishna consciousness are also less intelligent. And for them, it is not possible to understand God's personal nature. Persons who are under the impression that the absolute truth is impersonal are described as abhudaya, which means those who do not know the ultimate feature of the absolute truth. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that supreme realization begins from the impersonal Brahman and then rises to the localized supersoul. But the ultimate word in the absolute truth is the personality of Godhead. Modern impersonalists are still less intelligent, for they do not even follow their great predecessor, Shankaracharya, who has specifically stated that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. Impersonalists, therefore, not knowing the supreme truth, think Krishna to be only the son of Devaki and Vasudev, or a prince, or a powerful living entity. This is also condemned in the Bhagavad Gita 9.11. Avajananti mam mudha manushim tanam ashritam. Only the fools regard me as an ordinary person. The fact is that no one can understand Krishna without rendering devotional service and without developing Krishna consciousness. The Bhagavatam 10.14.29 confirms this. Athapi te deva padambuja dvaya prasada lishanugrita evahi janati tatvam bhagwan mahimno na chanya eko api chiram vichinvan. My Lord, if one is favored by even a slight trace of the mercy of your lotus feet, he can understand the greatness of your personality. But those who speculate to understand the supreme personality of Godhead are unable to know you, even though they continue to study the Vedas for many years. One cannot understand the supreme personality of Godhead, Krishna, or his form, quality, or name simply by mental speculation or by discussing Vedic literature. One must understand him by devotional service. When one is fully engaged in Krishna consciousness, beginning by chanting the Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, then only one can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Non-devotee impersonalists think that Krishna has a body made of this material nature and that all his activities, his form, and everything are Maya. These impersonalists are known as Mayavadis. They do not know the ultimate truth. The 20th verse clearly states, Kamais taisthar hrita jnana prapadyante anya devata. Those who are blinded by lusty desires surrender unto the different demigods. It is accepted that besides the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there are demigods who have their different planets, and the Lord also has a planet. As stated in the 23rd verse, Devan Deva Yajo Yanti Mad Bhakta Yanti Mam Api. The worshippers of the demigods go to the different planets of the demigods, and those who are devotees of Lord Krishna go to the Krishna Lok planet. Although this is clearly stated, the foolish impersonalists still maintain that the Lord is formless and that these forms are impositions. From the study of the Gita, does it appear that the demigods and the abodes are impersonal? Clearly, neither the demigods nor Krishna the Supreme Personality of Godhead are impersonal. They are all persons. Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he has his own planet, and the demigods have theirs. Therefore, the monastic contention that ultimate truth is formless and that form is imposed does not hold true. It is clearly stated here that it is not imposed. From the Bhagavad Gita, we can clearly understand that the forms of the demigods and the form of the Supreme Lord are simultaneously existing, and that Lord Krishna is Satchidanand, eternal blissful knowledge. The Vedic literature confirms that the Supreme Absolute Truth is knowledge and blissful pleasure. Vijnanam Anandam Brahma, Brihad Arangyaka Upanishad 3.9.28, and that he is a reservoir of unlimited auspicious qualities, Ananta Kalyana Gunat Mako Aso, Vishnu Puran 6.5.84. And in the Gita, the Lord says that although he is Aja, unborn, he still appears. These are the facts that we should understand from the Bhagavad Gita. We cannot understand how the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be impersonal. The imposition theory of the impersonalist monist is false as far as the statements of the Gita are concerned. It is clear herein that the Supreme Absolute Truth, Lord Krishna, has both form and personality. Hare Krishna. Hare Bol.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow, this is a beautiful purport, isn't it? Because after describing this, now Sri Krishna describing the category. So what is going on in this section? Krishna is talking about those who surrender, those who will not surrender. Now he's talking who do not surrender. He talks about those who surrender something other than him. Means they surrender to demigod or other god, but is connected with him. So that is demigod. So apart from demigod, somebody started worshipping impersonal conception. For those kinds of people, Sri Krishna is talking about this verse. It's a beautiful verse. Abhyaktam Vyaktima Panna Mannate Mam Abuddhaya Param Bhavam Ajananta Mam Abhayam Anuttamam. Unintelligent men who do not know me perfectly think that I, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, was impersonal before and have now assumed this personality. Due to their small knowledge, they do not know my higher nature, which is imperishable and supreme. I hope you all understand this concept of Mayavadism or impersonalism. Impersonally, now, there's one group of impersonalists, Brahmavadi. They are not offender, but they have a misconception also. They think origin is Nirvishesh Brahman, no personality, origin. And then personality comes. Krishna or Vishnu Tattva comes after impersonalism. So in that sense, they are accepting the eternity of form and formless. But origin is formless. Therefore, they are not considered devotee. The Mayavadi, they do not accept at all eternity of form. They say eternity is formless, Brahman. When it comes in contact with the modes, Sattvagun takes the form. So now question comes, the Brahman comes in contact with the form, with the modes, takes the form, and this is temporary. Now pig is eating stool. Is that the form of Brahman? Say yes. So this is disgusting. Their conception is completely offensive, very offensive. This should not be at all accepted. It's very offensive. So abhyaktam bhaktim apanna. Abhyaktam means which is unmanifest. Bhaktim apanna becomes manifest. So those who think I was unmanifest earlier have become manifest now. Abhyaktam bhaktim apanna. Mannate mam abuddhaya. Those who think like this, they are abuddhaya. Why they are abuddhaya? Because param bhavam ajananto. They do not know my supreme nature. What is my supreme nature? Mamabham anuttamam. That I am abhayam, imperishable. I am anuttamam, the finest. Uttamam means the best. Tamo is darkness, and Uttama is one who is beyond darkness. Uttama is also superlative, glorification, best. So, abhyaktam bhaktim apannam, which was unmanifest before has become manifest. This is referring to not just the impersonal conception of Brahmavad, but also impersonal conception in terms of Mayavad. The difference between Brahmavad and Mayavad, as I mentioned, the Brahmavad is attracted to the impersonal conception, and they either don't know about the personal conception or they don't give the priority. Like Durvasa Muni, Astabhakra Muni, they are big Brahmavadi. I mean, their name is all over Bhagavatam. You will see. Be careful if you meet them. You have to have a proper respect. They have a power. They can really curse or give you blessing too. I mean, even Srimati Radharani got the, of course, that's not the point. Srimati Radharani got the blessing from Durvasa. That's not the reason she's the best cook. But nonetheless, they are powerful. Kunti Devi got blessings from Durvasa. Many. The queens of Dwarka got blessings from Durvasa. From Astabhakra Muni. So they're very powerful. And one lecture Prabhupada said Astabhakra Muni was trying to establish impersonal concept as a supreme. He failed. There are some class of people, they will never give up that thought. It's very contagious also. But we'll discuss this more details next week. At least we have some clear idea. We can take away that living entity who surrender to Krishna, they are Vaishnavas. They will live with the Lord eternally in spiritual world. Those who surrender but not to Krishna, they are called other God worshipper. They will have a temporary result and disappointment with the relationship with that God, or even the destination will be disappointed. And the third category are impersonalists, which is two categories, Brahmavadis and Mayavadis. And they really have a big issue, big problem. And they believe when Nirgun Brahman becomes Sagun Brahman, you will hear all these words, jugglery they put. When Brahman covered by Sattvic takes the form, they call Jagannath, Jagadish. In other words, Jagannath, when he comes with Sattvagun, he takes the form. And when he get out of the material world, he has no form. This is offense. Then Brahman covered by Rajasic illusion, we all, Jiva. This is their misconception. Jiva comes like that. So we are God in one sense, according to them. But there is no such thing. We are eternally servant. And then Brahman covered by Tamasic illusion, manifestation of this material world. That is also another illusion. Brahman is not covered by Tamo to produce this. These are manifestation of illusory energy, material nature manifest. So I'll end here. If any takeaway or further discussion, we can go for a few minutes. Hare Krishna. Any further? If not, then we'll see you all next Wednesday.
Prabhuji, this is Susilpa. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Quick, not a question, but just wanted to share. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much for detailing out, comparing three types of acharas, and then it always comes up like a ground level unknowledgeable person like me always gets confused. But you clarified that if we have clarity in focusing on Krishna, we don't have to think too much about the differences, rather, and it's a faster way of going back to Godhead. Thank you, Prabhu. But one point though, for people, well, we cannot change all the people, but at least to help them up or to understand. Few people, they don't go to, few devotees, they don't go to demigods for asking for something. Rather, they would think something like, for example, Mata Parvati. They treat Mata Parvati like a mother, or Mata Lalita Devi. So they treat them as Mata Lalita Sahasranam, for example, right? They read it, and then even I do read it, but I don't know fluently. But in some cultures, treat Mata as mother, and she knows about her children. She wouldn't harm, or obviously mother wouldn't harm, but and demigod also, right? So she wouldn't be harming. Purely reaching out to Lalita Devi as a mother, and then probably they don't know much about Krishna. That's why they're not reaching out to Krishna, but that is still okay, right? What do you think?
It is not so much of who they are approaching. It is more important, what is their intention? So
Okay.
if they want to not surrender or not to serve God, they will be diverted to this God, demigod, that goddess, this mother, that father, so many. I saw in Jagannath Puri, in Ratha Jatra, I was with His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj in his group. And we were dancing, chanting. It was raining and stopping. It was like a Ratha Jatra day, 7 years back. And right behind us, there's a big procession carrying an old man as a Bhagavan, Baba. And they write, shelter of all living beings. We are like, kind of like we were laughing but confused. But then I started talking to one of the followers. And you can see they don't follow any bona fide scripture. They said, Baba reveals he is God. I said, is there other acharyas accept this? He said, what do you mean? We don't need anybody to accept. We accept him. I said, but who are you? Are you some kind of a empowered preacher or acharya? He said, no. He said he's God. I said, I can say I'm God. Will you accept me? He said, yes, why not? We all can become. So I understood. I just left. I said, okay, it's okay. I don't want to disturb in the Rath Jatra procession. But that's how they are. And they were like, at least, I would say, over 100 people. And this old man sitting in a palanquin is very comfortable. I looked at him. But this type of people are there. What can you do? We don't attack them, but at the same time, Krishna is revealing to us. Then we have to be, of course, express our care and affection in a sense that give them Bhagavad Gita. Maybe they will read, maybe they will be diverted to come back to their origin. But if they are very attached to something, to that person who claims he's God, well, they want to be cheated, they are getting cheated. That's all I can tell you. Prabhupada said that. Believe me, we don't get cheated unless I desire to get cheated. But they don't think like this. What can you do? We try our best, give them prasadam, give them some book, but their intelligence is stolen, you can see, or they don't have at all any intelligence. So they follow. In America, we don't see so much of this kind. In America, sometimes we see that they don't even believe anything unless it is scientifically proven or something, even though they are dying. It's like, it's very funny. So the whole world is a very in dangerous situation without Krishna consciousness. So thank you for bringing that point. It's very nice, Mother Sushilpa.
Thank you,
Mother
Prabhu, for
Aruni.
clarifying.
Thank you, Mother. Mother Aruni, you have something to say?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes.
I always appreciate your explanations and gives me understanding. I had this question about Shirdi Sai Baba. Is he avatar of a Shivji or something?
I don't address personally to someone, but we can always discuss on the principle. Instead of mentioning somebody's name, you see if they follow that principle. So for an example, somebody mentioned his name, Sai Baba's name, Siddhi Sai Baba's, to Prabhupada. And we see the way Prabhupada responded. He said, who is he? Now you may say, Prabhupada never heard it. Yeah, he heard it. But Prabhupada said, who is he? What he thinks he is? He said, he thinks he is God. He said, well, in Bhagavatam, the names of the gods are given by Vyasdev and he's not there. Neither any Acharya accepted that name as a god. So, but then the devotee asks, but he claims he's God. Then Prabhupada said, he's not G-O-D. It will be opposite, D-O-G. Because if something, but this idea that want to be God or I am God is there in a dormant. The apathy to devotional service is the root cause of that. That's why even in our society, if the devotees are not interested to serve, the impersonalism is still there. Some sort of contamination is still there. We have to be very, very careful. So I don't want to say about that person, but if that person reveal who he is, it has to be accepted by the acharyas. He has to be, his name mention has to be there. Even if he is the incarnation of Shiva, so what? In your heart, in the heart of living entity, we do not have a Shiva. We have Krishna. Sarvasya chaham ridhi sannivishta. I am situated in the heart, Krishna claims. We can worship anyone who will help us to bring close to Krishna. So we have to go with the principle. What is the principle? What is his teachings? What he claims?
And Shivji would not allow this to happen. He's a devotee of Krishna. So he would not say, I'm God or things like that.
No, that's not true. Because Shivji is also in charge of this material world where the soul can exploit also. Maya is required. In a higher dimension, Maya is required. Shiva's blessing is required. Just like Lord Shiva gave the blessing to Brikashura, he said, whoever I touch, his head will split. Shiva gave blessing. Now, this guy turned around because he had a glance of Parvati. He wants to enjoy Parvati, Shiva's wife. Can you imagine that? And he got the blessing from Shiva. And now he's chasing Shiva. He said, I want to touch your head and diminish you so I can enjoy your wife. So this kind of exploiter is there, always will be there. Ravana is a big Shiva follower. Shiva as a Vaishnava, he will reciprocate according to your desire.
But Krishna sanctions it.
Krishna sanctioned it because that soul wants to exploit that way. Not that Krishna wants it. Krishna sanctioned it because he is persisting. He doesn't want to give up. He wants to do this bad thing. He wants to do. Finally, it has to be sanctioned. And at the end, of course, that person suffers and he has to come back from that way. It's dynamic. In a sense, we fail, we learn. We fail, we learn. We forget again, we fail again. Again, we learn. The soul is going life after life after life after life.
Scary.
It is scary. We should be scared of Maya, material nature.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, one professor told me, I remember, there was many years back, maybe 18, 19 years back. He said, I used to teach in Santa Fe College about Bhakti Yoga, Friday, once a month. And the college allowed me to go and teach. So we had a good student. Some teacher would come, professor. One professor said, teach me without mentioning about God. I said, even you asking this question, without God intervening, you cannot even ask the question. The definition of God is not clear to you, sir. And he was like a dumbstruck. He said, why are you talking like this? I said, because that's the truth. I'm not going to teach Bhakti Yoga in the name of something else. I have come here to teach Bhakti Yoga and I have to define what is Bhakti Yoga and what is not Bhakti Yoga. And I know during the whole class, I was also a little disturbed and I remember he was not very happy. But then after 2 classes, he took the book. He came. Again, he came. So I was thinking, okay, something is working. Otherwise, why did he come back again? And then he took book. I don't know exactly what happened now because due to the COVID, 3 years I stopped teaching there. But this concept is there. A lot of people has an anger against God for no reason. You may not find any good reason, but they're holding it. So like that. Thank you, Mother Arani, for bringing.
Thank you, Hare Krishna,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna, Prabhuji and Mother. I'll see you all next Wednesday. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Panchakalpataru Vishikripa Sindhuvevacha. Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanandi.